Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Jafat Hami and these are the headlines. The Taliban claim they have captured multiple Afghan military posts in northeastern Badakhshan province. Spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid said all posts in Pachak and Hawassa areas of Vadoj district are now under Taliban's control. Earlier, the Taliban said they overran an Afghan military base in Dilaram district of their southwestern Nimroz province. Azerbaijan has accused the Armenian army of deliberately targeting children and educational institutions. The Azeri Foreign Ministry has called on the international community to pursue Armenia to stop such actions. Nearly 600 people have been killed since fighting broke out in the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region on September the 27th. India has recorded more than 63,000 COVID-19 infections in the last 24 hours, with the tally crossing 7.3 million. 895 deaths were registered across the country in a day, with the death toll crossing 112,000. Meanwhile, Brazil has recorded over 700 coronavirus deaths in the last 24 hours, pushing the tally to more than 152,000. In Pakistan, the virus has killed 7 more people, with the death toll rising to 6,621. Globally, the virus has infected nearly 39 million people, with 1.09 million deaths. The United Kingdom says it is disappointed the European Union is no longer committed to working intensively to reach a future partnership. British Chief Negotiator David Frost says expecting London to make all moves is an unusual approach to conducting a negotiation. Earlier in a statement, European leaders called on the British government to make the necessary moves to make an agreement possible. Those are the headlines and detailed stories right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. Azerbaijan has accused the Armenian army of deliberately targeting children and educational institutions. The Azeri Foreign Ministry has called on the international community to pursue Armenia to stop such actions. It said the continuation of the targeted attacks demonstrates the racist and xenophobic policy of Armenia. Baku also urged the international community to refrain from giving political, financial and military support to Armenia. It said such actions contribute to the grave violations committed by Armenia against the children in the Republic of Azerbaijan. Nearly 600 people have been killed since fighting broke out in the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region on 27th of September. The Taliban claim they have captured multiple Afghan military posts in northeastern Badakhshan province. Spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid said all the posts in Pachak and Hawassa areas of Vadoj district are now under Taliban's control. He said the group killed 13 soldiers and wounded 10 others while capturing the areas. The spokesperson said 2 Talibans were also killed. Earlier, the Taliban said they overran an Afghan military base in Dilaram district of the southwestern Nimroz province. Kabul has not yet commented on the Taliban's claims. In Pakistan, 14 people embraced martyrdom as terrorists ambushed a convoy of the state-run oil and gas company in Balochistan. The military's media wing, ISPR, said security forces escorting the vehicles from Gwadar to Karachi when terrorists opened fire on them. It said 7 security personnel and as many security guards were martyred in the shootout with the terrorists. It said security forces ensured the safe exit of all the workers and inflicted heavy losses on the terrorists. In a separate incident, an army officer and 5 other soldiers were martyred in an IED attack in North Waziristan. On Tuesday, National Security Advisor Mueed Yusuf said India is behind several terror attacks in Pakistan. Israel's parliament has approved the US brokered deal establishing formal relations with the United Arab Emirates. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu termed it one of the historic days for Israel. Addressing the parliament, Netanyahu said the peace agreement does not contain secret addenda. As many as 80 lawmakers voted in favor of the deal, while 13 opposed it. The Middle East countries signed the Abraham Accords at the White House on the 15th of September. Palestinians have condemned the pact as a betrayal of their quest for statehood in Israeli-occupied land. Iraq says it will coordinate with the US to develop a timeline for the withdrawal of the American troops from the country. Iraq's foreign ministry said it has formed a technical committee to oversee the redeployment of forces outside Iraq. It said the meeting in Baghdad included Iraq's foreign minister, national security advisor, and other security officials. The establishment of the body follows a series of meetings between the US and Iraqi officials over the summer. Earlier this year, the Iraqi parliament voted to expel all the foreign forces after a US airstrike killed Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad. The US says it has killed 2 senior al-Qaeda operatives in a drone strike near Idlib in northwestern Syria. In an interview, the US Central Command spokesperson said the strike was carried out by the military's elite Joint Special Operations Command. Major Beth Riordan mentioned al-Qaeda's Syrian branch continues to threaten the US interests and allies. It is the first drone strike by the US military against al-Qaeda in Syria since September. In Libya, the rival political factions have agreed to end the transitional political period and mull over how to form a government. The UN support mission in Libya said the agreement was reached after 3 days of constitutional talks in Cairo, Egypt. It mentioned the 2 sides also agreed to maintain talks to reach a permanent solution to the crisis. The mission said it hopes the decision will pave the way for Libya's political settlement and facilitate the political dialogue forum. The GNA's Libyan High Council and East-based Tobruk Parliament have been trying to thrash out a power-sharing deal. The 2 sides have already agreed on which positions to share in the key institutions of the country. China and Thailand have agreed to create fast tracks and green lanes to facilitate the flow of people and goods. The Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi reached the deal in Bangkok. Prayut Chan-o-cha said Thailand and China should formulate plans together for their post-COVID-19 cooperation. He said Bangkok expects more Chinese enterprises to invest in Thailand. He promised to provide an open, fair and transparent business environment for the Chinese enterprises. For his part, Wong pointed out the 2 sides should strengthen COVID-19 vaccine cooperation. He added the 2 countries should advance the joint construction of the Belt and Road Initiative. The foreign minister also called for speeding up the building of the China-Thailand high-speed railway. Thailand was the last leg of Wong's 5-nation Southeast Asia tour. India has recorded more than 63,000 COVID-19 infections in the last 24 hours, with the tally crossing 7.3 million. 895 deaths were registered across the country in a day, with the death toll crossing 112,000. Meanwhile, Brazil has recorded over 700 coronavirus deaths in the last 24 hours, pushing the tally to more than 152,000. Globally, the virus has infected nearly 39 million people with 1.09 million deaths. More in this report.
The COVID-19 pandemic has stormed back into Europe, forcing many places to reimpose tough restrictions eased just months ago. In Germany, the healthcare system of Bavaria state is overwhelmed as it struggles with a rapid surge in infections. New cases in France are multiplying by the thousands as the country struggles to avoid a national lockdown. The World Health Organization has urged Europe to step up efforts as the COVID-19 becomes the fifth leading cause of death on the continent.
The evolving epidemiological situation in Europe raises great concern. Daily numbers of cases are up, hospital admissions are up, and COVID is now the fifth leading cause of deaths, and the bar of 8,000 deaths per day has now been reached.
In Latin America, COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc as economic strife has forced people to return to work. Meanwhile, U.S. President continues to stand firm on his decision not to implement a lockdown despite cases now surging in majority of the states. Over in Japan, the government is set to experiment new innovative antivirus measures in country sports stadiums to curb the spread.
After being able to accept spectators, we have done various anti-coronavirus measures that we hadn't done before. We have proposed a new cheering style, which is to cheer without shouting, as well as disinfectants of seats and distribution of alcohol wipes.
Russia has also reported record-high single-day deaths in the last 24 hours. In the meantime, China reported no locally transmitted cases, while 24 imported cases were identified.
In Pakistan, 7 more people have lost their lives to COVID-19 during the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry says the countrywide death toll has risen to 6,621. The ministry says 659 people tested positive overnight. It said there are 9,421 active COVID-19 cases in the country. The ministry added out of nearly 322,000 cases, over 305,000 have recovered so far. It said more than 141,000 cases have been detected in the southern province of Sindh, while Punjab has reported some 101,000 cases. The European Commission President has gone into self-isolation after one of her team members contracted COVID-19. Ursula von der Leyen says she has tested negative, but as a precaution, left the EU leaders' summit. EU leaders have gathered in Brussels for 2 days of discussions on a post-Brexit trade agreement. They called on Britain to make the necessary moves to make an agreement possible. In a statement, the European Council President Charles Michel said the bloc wants a deal, but also aims to protect the level playing field. He said it is a question of fairness, jobs, and the integrity of the single markets. The death toll from floods in India's southern states has jumped to 77. Police say many others are still missing. Chief Minister of the worst affected Telangana state, Chandrasekhar Rao, says the floods have damaged property and crops worth around $70 million in the state. Officials say the situation in the state of Karnataka worsened with rains and release of water from major dams. The Indian Met Department has forecast heavy rains in Maharashtra and western coastline Konkan in the next 2 days. More stories to follow right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Air quality in India's capital, New Delhi, is continuously deteriorating. The wind has died down just as the burning up of crop waste in fields sent smoke billowing across the north of the country. A thick blanket of smog has reduced visibility in the area as the air quality index dropped to the very unhealthy category at 259. More in this report.
Up until September, New Delhi and its surrounding cities had enjoyed a breathing space due to the strict COVID-19 lockdown. But now, smoke from an assortment of different pollutants has made it difficult for residents to breathe. The city's early risers have complained of not just breathing issues, but irritation in the eyes as well.
Yes, actually we usually come here in the morning, so we get to see the sunrise. But when we came today, there was a lot of smog, so we realized the pollution level is high over here, because of which we are facing a little difficulty in breathing while we were cycling. Usually we try to maintain average speed, but today the pollution is more and we were facing difficulty in putting pressure while breathing.
Every winter, a thick blanket of smog settles over northern India as a combination of factors brings a spike in pollution. Illegal crop burning in farm states, vehicle exhaust, and swirling construction dust contribute to what has become an annual crisis.
Pollution level in Delhi was normal 20 days ago, but since the stubble is being burned in Punjab and Haryana, that has caused even more pollution and we are feeling suffocated. It has become difficult to come out. Earlier, we used to roam around comfortably, but today there is pain in my eyes and we are facing breathing difficulty.
Last year, New Delhi and neighboring cities accounted for half of dozen most polluted cities worldwide. It seems this year will be no different, and Delhi residents have a tough few months ahead of them.
Scorching temperatures made September 2020 the hottest on record. Scientists say there is a 65% chance this year might end up as the warmest. More in this report.
Blazing temperatures contributed 2020 being a remarkably hot year. Siberia, Middle East and South America recorded unusually high temperatures. Climatologists at the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration say this was the warmest September since records began in 1880, with a mean temperature increase of 0.97 degrees Celsius above the 20th century average.
Averaged as a whole, this was the warmest September on record with a temperature departure from average of 0.97 degrees Celsius or 1.75 degrees Fahrenheit above the 20th century average. The 10 warmest Septembers that we've seen have occurred since 2005. However, the 7 warmest have occurred in the last 7 years.
This year, extreme weather played a major role in disasters, including fires in California and the Arctic to floods in Asia.
A small change in the mean of the global temperature can lead to big changes in extreme weather. And so what we're seeing right now is that we do expect for heat waves to become more frequent, more intense, and we're already seeing that. In terms of drought as well, the general rule of thumb is that areas that are dry will get drier and areas that are wet will get wetter.
In 2015, countries agreed under the Paris Climate Accord to attempt to cap warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius. Large emitters, including China and the EU, have pledged to slash their emissions in the coming decades. But current policies will see temperatures rise far beyond the 1.5 degree level.
The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a lot of damage and disturbed daily life across the world. But a group of Filipino teachers has found a creative way to help children living in remote mountains catch up to their studies. This report will tell you more.
Authorities in the Philippines have ordered all school classes to be held online until a coronavirus vaccine is available. Because of this, indigenous ETA students have been left out of the program as their isolated village lacked the infrastructure to take part in online learning. Nonetheless, a group of teachers decided to take the matter into their own hands. Using old bookshelves and wooden boards, they built a makeshift learning center complete with a large monitor.
We teachers initially had a hard time because the only option given by the government was online or blended learning, where students are given modules and continue their lessons virtually. However, there is no internet or television in this area. We had to think of an alternative way to bring the lessons to the children.
The setup can fit on top of a rickshaw and travel between rugged mountain village roads in the mostly rural province of Pampanga. The teachers pre-recorded instructional videos using their mobile phones and played them to assist students while avoiding face-to-face contact. There is no extra budget allocated for the project, although the rickshaw and driver were provided by the local government.
Some of our ETA students cannot read, especially the kindergarten and the elementary students. So how are they going to be able to answer the module? Even their parents cannot assist them. The only solution is through our innovation.
The teachers say students have responded enthusiastically to the courses, with parents grateful for the resumption in classes.
In Romania, a cliff diving pair has dived 120 meters underground in one of the world's oldest salt mines. In a never-done-before feat, the athletes leap from the walls of the cone-shaped mining room into the high salinity lake. More in this report.
This visually stunning area has the oldest Turda salt mine. The astounding beauty has made the place like a wonderland, shaped by salt and humankind. Cliff diving champion Rhiannon Iflin and local star Konstantin Popovici took up the challenge to jump into a lake inside the salt mine.
There's a lot of challenges diving here. Well, firstly, it's a brand new location. It's very dark down in the lake. The water is 17% more dense than seawater, so the impact is different. It's actually quite a unique experience to hit the water when it's that salty. It just pushes you straight up to the surface. So that's also a challenge. You know, we came here not knowing how that would feel and how the body would take the impact with the different water.
Cliff diver Konstantin Popovici has called it a new and different experience.
The big challenge, I would say, it's the salinity. It's super salty compared to a normal ocean, which it makes it more tough on your body on the impact. Also, being in a cave, it's totally dark. We have lights, but it's still not a natural, perfect condition to dive. So that's another challenging thing.
In 2013, Salinda Turda was converted into a museum having an underground theme park. This place attracts 700,000 visitors every year.
The United Kingdom says it is disappointed that the European Union is no longer committed to working intensively to reach a future partnership. British Chief Negotiator David Frost says expecting London to make all the moves is an unusual approach to conducting a negotiation. In a tweet, he mentioned Prime Minister Boris Johnson will set out London's approach to Brexit today. On 7th of September, Johnson has set a deadline of 15th of October, saying if a deal is not agreed, both the sides should move on. Meanwhile, European leaders have called on the British government to make the necessary moves to make an agreement possible. In a statement after the conclusion of the day one of a summit in Brussels, the bloc said the union's chief negotiator must continue discussions in the coming weeks. European markets have gained, looking to bounce back from steep losses yesterday amid looming lockdowns due to a surging coronavirus crisis. European stock 600 has gained close to 1%, with autos jumping over 2%. London's FTSE 100 too has gained nearly 1%. In Italy, the FTSE MIB has added close to 0.5%. The CAC 40 in Paris has climbed well over 1%, while Frankfurt's DAX 2 edged up 0.5%. Earlier, most Asian stocks traded mixed, with Japanese, South Korean and Australian bourses declining. And now the weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.